For those of you who haven't met me before, my name's Sonia Choquette. I am in Paris right now, and I know people are from Honolulu and Ireland and Denver and Hawaii. And so the first thing I want to do is have everybody just take a moment to feel this connection that we share energetically, because that is part of the whole point of our evening tonight. Or, well, my evening, you might be first thing in the morning, but it's the whole point of our connection. And before we dive into how to make your life easier, how to feel more secure, more grounded, safer, at ease, I want you to just recognize what brought you here. Because I am a big believer that when we come together like this, or in any way that we gather, it's a bit of a divine appointment. I want you to think about what motivated you, what, even if you got an advertisement or you got a notification or an email, something in you had to make a decision. Something in you had to feel the call, feel the response to say, you know what? I want to be there. And that something is what we're going to really turn on tonight, that inner sense. So I'm just going to move this so I can see the chat. I want you to think about that energy and put in the chat. Try to describe what was that motivation to be here? How did you experience it? Not in your head, but actually in your body. How did you experience that feeling, and where in your body did you feel pulled to just step out of your day and just be here? Because that pull that brought you here is the same pull that's going to take you to every circumstance, get you in the flow, connect you with the right people at the right time, connect you with opportunity, and steer you away from the energies that aren't really supportive to who you are. So just talking about it, just acknowledging it. We go back to my favorite saying, when you name it, you claim it. So I'm going to put on my glasses so I can be claiming too what's going on here. Some of you just you're feeling the energy, the things that you want, and I want you to think about and call to mind, call to your energetic awareness. What would you really like, and how would you really like to be empowered right now? You know, that we want to make your life easier. So where is it not easy? Just again, take a moment, put it in the chat, write it down, say it out loud. Where does my life maybe not feel secure? Where does my life feel like it's not grounded, not safe, not in the flow? I want you to bring your awareness, because this experience is about stretching and turning on your inner senses, heightening your external senses, and getting everything to work together. And it starts with awareness. It starts with acknowledging what's actually going on. So I'm reading some of the, again, I can really read live, but I can't read the chat. So let me just see what we're saying. I see. You know, you want to make better decisions. You want to be in the flow. You want to connect with people. You want to be reassured and feel that what you're doing and how you're connecting is not leaving you out in the field and leaving you anxious. So what I'm going to teach you tonight is a circumstance that our world is actually pretty much demanding of us these days, which is to learn to sharpen our senses, all of them, even the ones you don't know or you don't believe in, even the ones you don't know you have. Turn on everything so that you can actually begin to energetically read life, read yourself, read people, read places. Think about the ways and the areas in which it would be really wonderful and really beneficial to be able to understand what's really happening. And not just what's obvious, because sometimes what's on the surface isn't even accurate. It isn't. It's misleading. It isn't truthful. It isn't at least the full picture. So I want you to recognize that, fortunately, we really are empowered with all the resources and tools we need to read life accurately. But it's not simply paying sharper attention with our outer senses, which we do need to do, and I'm going to teach you to do, but also to begin to turn on your inner senses. I want to share with you that your outer senses really need to come back online. So if you're going to be safe and secure and present, you can't be checked out. And also, if you want that financial security, if you want that romantic love or that good relationship, or to feel the relationships you have already are grounded and they're going in the right direction and you get each other. That's, you read each other correctly, or where you are and where you find your place in the world is really supportive to you. You have to start in the moment. So that's where we're going to start. I am going to teach you to do something that is going to change your life for the better. That is, I'm going to teach you to read life accurately, to read life. Now, what does that mean? I want you to think about it. What does reading life mean? It's interesting that a lot of people get that right away, just by our colloquialisms. When someone says, I can read her mind, you know what that means. It means I am able to tune into and accurately understand what she isn't expressing, or maybe even is hiding. Or have you ever heard this saying, I'm reading the situation. I'm really reading what's going on here, which means that while everybody, for example, you walk in a room and everybody's smiling, but you can feel that there's a lot of tension. Maybe there was just a fight. Maybe there was discord. Maybe you were walking into something really hostile, but everybody's smiling. You can read it. It's like, this doesn't resonate. What you're presenting versus what I'm experiencing aren't lining up. So we are in a period of life, and I really want you to tune in and dial into this. We are in a period in our world where we have to learn to read life, because our emotional nature loves certainty. It loves to feel reassured. It loves to be in the know. It's survival. But our world is no longer predictable like it used to be, maybe even 10 years ago. The climate, for one thing, we don't know what's happening with that. The way our companies and jobs for our parents, maybe, or the generation before us, went to work, had the same job forever. And now, since certainly COVID, we have no certainty about that. Think about how much your life has actually changed and isn't still yet stable in a way that, I can rely on this continuing. Our world is in a transformational arc, and it is exciting. Our uncertainty makes us react and feel like, oh, this is so unsafe, but it's not. It's just different, which means we have to be different to resonate with it, to flow with what's happening. And that means that our outer senses have to come back online, and we have to also access inner senses that help us tune into things energetically. So here's the very first thing I want you to think about. Have you noticed that it's easy to check out? Like, what causes us to misread life, or not read anything, not feel anything? It's really when do you understand, or do you ever wonder why I'm blindsided, or I'm not getting it, or I'm not feeling it? Do you ever wonder what might be contributing to that? Because it's very important to recognize that we can block our awareness in very significant ways. And it'd be like wandering through a highway at night without your eyes open. So we have to start recognizing that this is a time that, as we go through this transformation, that we really need to be present. We really need to turn on our first, let's start with our outer senses. And just start with me right now. I want you to look around and notice and put in the chat, what's the most beautiful thing you see right in front of you that maybe you did not notice 5 minutes ago? One thing about being aware and perceptive, that one of the definition is to notice. So let's talk about what can you notice right in front of you? It's like, I didn't notice that. How about the people in your life that you're very close to? Could you name what color their eyes are, or their hair, or what they wore yesterday, or what they're wearing today, even though you just saw them? These are like what I call little psychic sit-ups, little awareness expanding sit-ups. And it requires that you be present. So again, I want you to just feel and notice. And when you do notice the most beautiful thing in front of you, what happens to you? What happens to you? You can feel there's a connection, that what I'm seeing over there isn't disconnected. We are connected. And in what way? Energetically. So just all of a sudden, you can see how starting to get present and notice begins to turn on a whole different level of perception like that. So you feel it. My heart opens, colors sharpen, I get more relaxed. I am responding. What you're writing about, what you're acknowledging is you're responding to what's right here. You come out of your head, you come out of your thoughts, and you come back to your body. So the first thing I'm going to teach you about in reading life accurately is to recognize what you need to do to read anything, to perceive, to receive. But what does that mean? It means to sense beyond the physical and to tune into what you're actually experiencing, not and the physical, so you don't miss it. That you see, sense, recognize, tune into it, this information that informs you, that gives you the ability to make better decisions. So let's start by taking a breath. And I want to teach you a particular breath that will really help you become more receptive and aware and empowered. So just breathe in through the nose and just feel that coming into your air, that into your body through your nose. And when it hits your body, I want you to put your arms and your shoulders down, your arms down, and then pull your belly to your spine and exhale. And have the idea in your mind as you're doing this that you're going to empty the noise that's in your mind that distracts you from reading life, that takes you away, that interrupts. Just breathe it in again with me, breathing in slowly. Pull the belly to the spine, empty. And what do you notice when you do that? When you empty and you let the noise out? That took 10 seconds. And now do one more breath up from the feet into the heart space. And I want you to open your jaw like you're going to yawn. And then just slide into your heart with a loud sigh. And smile. And then just notice what's happening right now. First thing is you're quiet in the head. You're back in the body and you've turned on your senses. You are now available to receive and perceive and recognize energy. That silence also is presence. You feel that. So let's try that again, because the mind is jumping around like a ping pong ball and it's noisy and or numb, and we want to breathe back in, because what this is doing first and foremost is it's waking up our outer senses. When you quiet the noise, look around again and see if you notice anything else that's beautiful that you didn't notice a minute ago, even just after that quick breath. Just for a moment. And I notice that I have a beautiful plant. I'm in Paris. I'm looking out my window. I see someone across the street who's enjoying the balcony. I mean, once you start looking up and aware, you see and you connect. That is one of the most important things, is to see your connection to everything. Now, I want to talk about what stops that, because we need to be present. And before I teach you the specifics of reading different circumstances like yourself and your people and your places, I want you to clear the disturbances and what dulls or turns this sense awareness off. We have to start with just an understanding that really needs to change is that we have more than five senses. We have five physical external senses that we really need to start using much more actively. And we have inner senses that we have the inner sense of clairaudience, for example, which is the hearing of energy. We're not listening to words. We're not listening to our head. We're listening to energy. We have clairsentience. It comes from the heart through the hands. Just do this right now. Rub your hands together, shake them out, and just feel the energy between your own palms. And then turn your hands like this and feel the energy coming off of you. That is broadcasting. That's broadcasting. That's communicating who you are and the state of your consciousness right now. You're broadcasting, and you're also able, when you turn on these inner senses, to perceive the broadcast coming your way. And then we have an inner sense that is, I call our red light gut, our protective stop. And I have taught all over the world for 40 some years now. And I have never encountered somebody in any country that doesn't understand my gut feeling says something's off. If I ask somebody, do you understand it when I say my gut is giving me bad vibes? Do you understand that? And universally, people say, yeah, I do, because it's hardwired. We have this inner red light sensory gut that says, stop. We have, and what about my heart says, or I'm feeling it in my heart, or how about my heart's not in it? How about, I'm just not sensing it. You are actually having an energetic experience, not an emotion. You're feeling an energy. So take a breath again and just be aware of what you are broadcasting and that people are receiving you. People are receiving you. They may not know it, but we call that reaction, we call that judgment, we call that trigger. And because sometimes what we receive, we feel and sense. But here's where we get into trouble, because a lot of people here who have come to this today do receive energy. You might be receiving a lot of energy, but the subtitle of the book is accurately. It's like I'm picking something up, but am I interpreting it accurately? And you have to clear a lot of the blocks to be able to do that. So there's a lot of little shifts we can make to clear some of these blocks. And one of them is just holding your breath. Do you know that when you hold your breath, your perceptions just collapse? You get guarded, you pull your energy and you shut down. And it is a fear response, but the opposite is going to give you the power to be more, we're more secure, we're more grounded when we're better informed. So, that breath I taught you, breathing in and releasing the stress with a sigh. And then breathing up from the ground. This is another tool, breathing up into your heart. So we breathe up and then we get centered. That's another way that you can really begin to be present. Another thing is, beyond just the checking out and being on your phone and being preoccupied, other things cause us to misread life. And one of them is fear. Some of you have written about fear. Some of you have acknowledged it. So one of the things that you want to recognize is that you don't have to get rid of fear. It's not possible anyway. But what you want to do is acknowledge fear. Because when you start to acknowledge what you're afraid of, you get more clear. It's like, I'm afraid. I was talking to someone that said, I'm really afraid of my wife. It was just a friend of mine. I said, well, what are you afraid of? And for a good 30 seconds, he couldn't even answer. And he finally said, I don't know. And I said, well, is it fear or is it that you really love her and you're afraid that if you open your heart and she knows that you're too vulnerable? I was reading his energy. And he instantly lit up and he said, I think that's it. I think I love her so much that it makes me feel afraid that maybe she won't love me back. Maybe. And I said, just breathe into that. Just breathe into that and see if that's an accurate read of her. Move out of your fear and tune into her. And just help yourself by giving yourself a break and looking at and sensing her. Do you really think she's going to dump you? Do you really think she doesn't love you? Do you really, is that something that you have any energetic evidence of? And he just said, absolutely not. What am I thinking? And I said, well, that's just it. You're in an old thinking pattern. So let's, in the book, Read Life Accurately, I break it down because these are the skills we need in the world right now. The first skill you need is to read yourself. That's the first skill you need, because imagine if you're a mess and you don't know what's coming and going, how are you going to perceive energy? And the key word again is accurately. You could misread it. It's like I had a client the other day who said, I just really dislike my boss, really such a nasty guy. And I really could tell she was misreading him. He was intense. He was focused, but I saw no malice in his energy at all. I felt none of that projection she was concluding. But he was strong and decisive, and that was not something she was. And she was making him wrong because she was insecure. And when I helped her understand that she was picking up something, but her interpretation was really causing her trouble, and just to try to relax and understand he has a different energy than mine. And maybe it's one that complements me instead of threatens me. Maybe you can just look at that intensity and say, that's interesting. You're very quick, you're very intense, and I'm a little bit more slow and methodical. So I might pick up what you might miss instead of, I can't keep up with you. Well, that was a new revelation for her when she considered that shift of perception in what she was understanding. Then she didn't feel scared anymore. She said, that makes me so happy. I love my job. Now I don't have to be afraid that my boss doesn't love me. Just read the energy accurately. And you know what really empowers you? When you call it accurately. I said, tell your boss that you really appreciate his decisiveness and his focus, and that you kind of cover what he misses. And she was really excited about doing that because she had been there a while. So I'm going to ask you questions. I want you to put in the chat. If you were to read yourself accurately, I want you to name your top 3 priorities, because this is like your compass. This is like what you're always moving toward in life, or you're always looking for. And even something that simple might not be clear to you. And if you don't know your own priorities, you're not going to read life very well. So it's not your ultimate, but just right now, check in. What are my priorities? What do I care about? What am I looking for? What am I seeking? And I'm going to get my glasses again and see what you're saying and see what some of these things are, because you're going to see they're pretty similar. I want to be creative. I want to have my priorities are my family. My priorities are connecting with others. My priorities are to open up my inner senses. It's really important to know what your priorities are, because that helps you ask yourself, well, am I listening? Am I focused? Am I recognizing? Am I making choices that are aligning with my priorities? This alone is going to start helping you read life more accurately, because if I know my priorities, then I'll start vibrationally aligning with what resonates with my priorities, what feels correct versus just walking along and blindly ignoring my priorities and getting pulled off. Now, just naming your priorities is very empowering because here's how your senses work. Your senses follow your priorities. They're very selective. For example, if you go to the mall and say you're both in the mall and there's 50 stores, the person who's interested in sports is going to have the priority and is going to track where the sports store is, where the person interested in cooking is going to be over here in the cooking store, and the person that's interested in games is going to be over here in the games, but is going to completely be unconscious of these things that are not important to me. So you see, you've got to get clear about what's important to me. It's so important to recognize that with all the information overload going on in the world, all the noise, all the opinions, all the right, all the wrong, that our brains and our spirits can't absorb that, and we lose our priorities. So we have to clear that noise with the breath I taught you, and then come back to what matters to me. And that might feel like a bit of a slippery fish for some people. I don't know what matters to me. I forgot. I'm so overwhelmed. So this is the beginning of reading life. This is the beginning. And the next thing is that this is a big one, to begin to recognize, you know what? I actually do have inner senses. This is the age of woo-woo is actually ending. Inner senses are coming online for so many people. In fact, I had two conversations in the last 48 hours that were very, very interesting. One is a client of mine whom I've coached for a long time. He said, you have to call me. You have to call me right away. It's an emergency. So I called him and I said, well, what's up? He said, oh my God, Sonia, some things are happening to me. I can't understand. He said, I thought of my doctor who gave me an appendicitis operation 30 years ago. He was so on my mind today. I haven't thought of that guy in 30 years. And then tonight he walks into my restaurant. How did that happen? I'm so freaked out. I was like, okay. Now, how this happened was that your inner sense, your clairaudience, the inner energetic sense tuned in to him thinking, I'm going to dinner tonight. I'm going to go to a restaurant. That restaurant, I know that guy. I gave him an appendicitis operation. So bam, you connected and picked up the energy. This is happening so spontaneously. Another woman said, I was on a walk, and as I was walking, she shared this story. She said, I felt someone behind me, even though I didn't hurt, I felt turn around. I didn't hear a thing. I was just in a beautiful path, and it was a lovely, quiet day. And I felt this energy, but a voice almost said, turn around. And I came nose to nose with someone who was right up on my back, kind of ready to maybe pounce on me, but I caught him off guard. Why did that happen? What's going on? Your inner senses are turning on, and they're taking care of you. Your inner senses are turning on, like with the doctor and the restaurant guy. You're beginning to recognize you're connected to things bigger than your own thoughts. So put in the chat, have you had any spontaneous experiences where your inner senses are just informing you? I'm sure you're going to say yes. But then I have a very interesting response. All the time, happens all the time. All the time. Yes. It's happening in the world. Now, here's the thing. What has to change, and I talk about it in Read Life, very important. I give lots of tools about quit fighting it. Quit fighting it. Quit quit challenging it. When you see or you hear music, you say, how can I be sure I heard that song? Or if you see a car coming down the road, do you look and say, I'm not so sure about that. Maybe I'll cross the street even though this car's speeding right toward me. Of course not. But my experience, and I have a lot, My experience is we still have the habit when we get inner guidance, when our inner senses pick up the energetic field, which is more subtle than the physical third dimension, when we pick up the energy field that I introduced you to, we are so conditioned to not have space for that as part of our normal that we get freaked out. But guys, you have to stop. I just finished, by the way, mentoring a beautiful course. These students were just at the top of their game. And yet when they, at the end, practiced reading life, several of them said, I don't know why I said that, even though they just went through this whole course explaining that they can do this, and they did it. So we have to train our brains to allow us to read life instead of fight it, to allow us to read ourselves, read other people, and believe what we're picking up and be clear that we're interpreting it. So it might seem like a bit of a complicated dance, but the truth is it's natural. And this, when you change your mind, and in my book, I talk about how natural it is, but what's unnatural is how we have been trained. So our brains have information like a tape recorder that says, can't count on that, don't listen to that. And this is what has to change. I watched a video. I can't remember the name of it, but it was about a man who he was vision impaired, but by the grace of God and science, he had an operation that restored his ability to see. Now you would think, great God, now the guy can see, but guess what? His eyes could see, but his brain wasn't receiving and understanding what he was picking up. He had to be taught to see. And this is part of why I wrote Read Life. Our senses are coming on, but I want to teach you to engage those senses instead of tune them out or toss them around like a hot potato or doubt them or in some way fight them or not integrate them or feel like this is so weird. I can't stand it when it's so clear. It's so clear. So many times when I'm working with students and people are doing intuitive readings, people say the most incredibly perceptive, accurate reads on life. Like, for example, I had a woman the other day that I was working with who she said, I know this business that I'm in is gonna sell soon. I know it. And it did. It went up for sale within 2 weeks, within a short period of time. And she said the entire time she knew it, she was still waiting to be wrong. She said, I knew it, but what about me kept saying, wow, you're crazy, you're making it up, they're not going to believe you, this is weird. I knew it. Of course you did. Just like if you see it or you hear it, you can energetically know it. So we've got to rewire our brain as much as turn on our senses. And the biggest way to rewire your brain is real simple. Just start recognizing I have outer senses and they have to work harder. I do need to start looking up and listening and paying attention. And I have inner senses and they're working just fine. I just have to quit fighting them. And I asked one of my clients who was so accurately reading life, so accurately reading people, that fighting it, I said, what are you fighting? What is the fear that is attending your inability to trust yourself? What is the fear? Because it's strong. And if your eyes told you something and you were afraid to acknowledge what you see, would you ever do that? Would you walk into traffic or would you walk into the wall? Of course not. And she said, what I fear is that other people are going to think I'm a weirdo. They're going to dismiss me. And when your inner senses are dormant, and for a lot of people they are, for now, not forever, just for now. And actually for a very short period of now, because we're all turning on like popcorn. We're all popping up these inner senses because we need them. So I said, well, what if you reframed it? Instead of being so afraid of being judged or misunderstood or misread by others, expect it. I've lived my whole life being misread by others. And you know what? When you're not afraid of it and you just understand it's really not about me, that their inner senses are not turned on. So they are in the dark. They work, they're there, but they haven't been flipped on yet. So what I'm picking up, they don't get. It's like if you're in the dark room, but I have the flashlight going, hey, it's over here. And then you're in the dark, looking in the dark, going, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I, with the flashlight, might to them be a bit weird. So what you do with that is you just say, you know what? My inner senses work. My energy senses work. You know, one of the more popular recent, say in the last 10 years, ways to say it is my spidey senses work. And the reason I like that expression is because that's what energy is. Like, oh, just my spidey senses. But if you normalize it, people who tend to go, oh, that's so weird, well, relax. Oh, oh, your spidey senses. What's that? It's like, oh, I don't know. I pick up energy. Don't you? And we can start to normalize this, but we have to train the brain. So what's your big obstacle? What just because once you name what the obstacle is, doesn't threaten you anymore. So think about it, reflect, self-awareness, read yourself. What is preventing me? What is preventing me? I have a whole list in the book of the things that keep you from being empowered by using all your senses. But when I lay them out, it kind of makes no sense. Well, maybe I'll be judged. Okay. Well, if someone said, in fact, I had this experience. And I live in Paris. Now, in the summer in Paris, there was the Olympics, many of you know. And anyway, the city had been completely under renovation for several years, and many of the monuments still had temporary facades over them or scaffolding or something. So I was with a friend who had moved to Paris. Now I've lived here for 10 years and been coming for 30. So I'm with my friend in the taxi, and we're looking at a building, obvious building, the opera. It is an iconic building and a national monument. We're both looking at the building, but it has the temporary renovation front on it. But it's like huge. It's like the Eiffel Tower. And she said, "What's that?" And I said, "That's the opera." She goes, "That's not the opera." And she's like, "That's the opera." She said, "That's not the opera." And I said, "It's the opera. This is Boulevard de Opera. This is the opera." And she said, "You are so wrong. That is not what the opera looks like." And I said, "Okay." Okay. And I thought, this is what it's like when you're intuitive picking up something and someone's saying it's not that. And I just said, okay, not the opera for you. And I'm not going to argue because that you're not perceiving something in you is blocked. You have a habit of seeing it a certain way, and because it looks slightly different. So this was really, really a big enlightening mirroring back to me that people don't see what is, they see what they want to see. So if someone thinks you're a weirdo or judge you, it's because they're only seeing this. Now, doesn't it give you any bit of freedom? I mean, I could have argued with her. 3 times I said it's the opera, and I thought this is not a useful conversation. This is not useful. Why are we're seeing two different things. We are in two different realities. You see what I mean? So we have to not be so dialed into approval. That is a big obstacle. If you can only allow your senses to work to the degree others give you permission, that's kind of not a smart idea, right? So I want you to be aware of, okay, maybe some people won't get it. And the reason why, and I explain it in the book, if you're only in the left brain and you're only in your own thoughts, you're going to see a very fixed and limited world. It's going to be very biased. It's going to be very inaccurate. But you're going to believe that's my reality. So if your inner senses are turning on and someone else is in this little cubby hole, they're going to tell you you're off, but are you going to then shrink down to get that approval, or just let it be? And the way you let it be, one of the tools I have in the book is works for me. I know it's a bit odd to you, but it works for me. And that disarms a lot of people. Even in the conversation I had, so I said, well, that's the opera to me. And then afterwards, she said, I went back and looked and it was the opera. I just didn't recognize the front. Now, I could have went, yeah, but I didn't. I didn't, because everybody's just doing the best they can. But right now, we need to use all our senses. So now that's part A. Let's go to part B, which is, let's talk about, and I actually was thinking it'd be fun to work with people and work with some of the people who are on the call so that I can actually show you. First, let's work with somebody, and I'm going to have you ask me a question, and I'm going to show you how to use your own inner guidance to begin, and your own outer senses to work together, all of them together, so that you are genuinely able to recognize who I am and what I'm doing and where I'm going accurately. Okay. So I'm going to have the people here that are my assistants here at Hay House. I like to work with a couple, and let's see what we can come up with. So I'm going to put my glasses on again. And I'll go down to some of these questions in a minute, but I want to actually do some like work with someone. So who can you pick someone for me? I see Erica. Are you going to work with me, Erica?
I am.
Okay. Hi, Erica.
Hello.
So what the first thing I perceive, and I want you to check in with this, is your energy's not fully in your body. Can you feel that?
I can.
Okay. I can feel it instantly. So
Yes.
let's just see what it feels like to just give yourself a little more room to move in. Okay, so let's just breathe in. Is there any way, crew, to put Erica up on a split screen with me? Is that too difficult? There we go. Okay, so Erica, I want you to first, one of the ways in which to get into your body and be more present so that you can be able to tune into energy accurately is to open this jaw. So just open it a little bit. And just open that and pull the shoulders back and just breathe in, because we get pushed out. We kind of get squeezed in our throat and shoved up into our head. And then we're kind of at the mercy of energies that throw us around. So it's like moving back in. Can you feel that?
Yes.
Okay, now I have a question for you. Do you like being back in?
Yes.
Okay, it's important because a lot of people want to be checked out. It does feel different to be present. So, what would be a question you'd like to learn to use all your senses to get some insight with?
How to perceive the difference between the feeling of ego pressing me forward and the feeling of intuition, deeper knowing.
Okay. So the first thing I want to share with you is you're doing this the entire time, and this is what I'd like to stop you to change. The entire time you're talking like this. So you're listening to your ego. That's the first thing. So we have to change the channel and come back in and be present, look ahead. Okay. Because if you're like this, you're constantly listening to your own ego. And that your ego is always going to say, well, that is going to discount your feelings, your energy. The ego wants to be in control. So that's the first thing. Now, what Well, let's have a question and let's have both your ego and your intuition answer. And then I want you and everybody watching to actually experience the difference because there is a distinct difference. Okay, there you go up in your head again. Stay with me. Stay with me. Nice breath and smile. Okay, in what area of your life would you like to know the difference? On what subject would you like to have real guidance? Ask a
Relationship,
real question, a
relationship.
specific real question.
Do I love this person that I'm with?
Okay. Now that's an interesting, the way you pose that question. Um, I think that that sets you up for a bit of failure. Do I love this person? Maybe what you can say instead is be curious. What is the real connection? What's really happening between us? Does that seem any more interesting? What's really happening between us in terms of benefit? What's really happening in terms of the experience? Does that in any way open it up for you? Because the real do I really love is a right, wrong, and that's a very ego approach to things.
Mm,
Okay.
mm,
So I'm going to have you do this when you want to know, is this connection something that really supports my nature? Or is my spirit, or is this something that's maybe, I'm going to just name maybe some possible mental imaginings. Is this codependency? Is this attachment avoidant? I mean, you're very mental. I'm sure you've examined all the different mental strategies, but what does my heart say? So let's start with just answer very quickly. I'm afraid of, don't look up,
yeah, yeah. Uh,
with me, open your eyes.
yes.
I'm afraid
Being
of,
hurt, being hurt
okay.
like I have.
And I'm afraid of,
Finding, finding the truth of love.
okay. And I'm afraid of, don't look up,
It's not going to be like I want it to be.
disappointment, disappointment. Good. Take a breath. Ah, open up again. Come back to your body. Take a breath. Ah, what's the most interesting thing in front of you?
This beautiful growth.
Okay. Now, I'm afraid of,
Not understanding it and doing it again.
yeah, I'm afraid I'll blow it. I'm afraid I didn't learn anything.
Mhm.
Okay. But have you noticed as you let you're starting to let this sphere out, your spirit's coming back?
Yeah.
Can you
Yes.
feel what's happening?
Yes.
You're out of your brain, which has had you locked down with all your theories, and now you're coming back. Do you see this, people watching? Can you feel the difference? Now, very quickly, just take that sigh and sigh into your heart. Ah, a little bit more. That's a little bit of not enough. Be more generous. Ah, like really make some noise. Keep your eyes open. Ah, now here's a question. I'm going to ask a different question and have your inner senses answer. Um, am I okay with myself? And my heart
Yeah.
says,
Yes.
do I like who I am?
Mostly.
Yeah, fair. Am I available to be influenced by someone else?
Too much.
Okay. Information. And see, you smiled. You're right here. This is your inner guidance saying this is what's really happening. Is there anything I need to strengthen in myself to feel comfortable in any relationship?
Boundaries.
Okay. Am I interested in learning that?
I struggle with that.
Have I made a decision about it?
I'm trying
There
so
up
hard
and
to do
down. You
that. I
see, you go
know.
up
Yeah.
and down like a ping
Yeah.
pong ball.
Yes.
Reading life means being present. The minute I do this or this, I left. Okay. So I struggle with it because,
I want to understand it.
so back in your head. Now, I want to give you some information about understanding. Have you been in therapy? Have you
Yes.
ever been in therapy? I have. And what I've discovered about therapy, which I'm not taking away from, but I think we overrate understanding. But how many times can we say, I understand my problem up, down, left, right, from the beginning through childhood, and it still hasn't changed anything. So
Yeah.
I think, maybe am I interested in being available? Because you can't have any relationships without good boundaries. So you are jumping to the relationship, and I'm reading you saying, well, wait, it's here. Read yourself. Read yourself. Without boundaries, which is not an understanding, it's an experience. I don't want to be bowled over by anyone. That's
Right.
all. I love you, but don't smother me, don't suck the life out of me and don't not see me. So, with that awareness and that investigation, these are some of the questions I put in my book for you to look at. What do you think? How do you feel about and what's your insight on the relationship you're in? Or you're questioning? I won't even assume you're in it. Don't go to your head.
Yeah. I just asked for time.
Right. How does that feel?
It's difficult when they don't want to receive the answer.
Well, okay. It's difficult. Relationships are.
Yes.
So if you get back here, I'll tell you a quick lesson to find better boundaries real fast and it'll make you laugh. Just make your life's purpose and one of your life's priorities is to mind your own business.
Ooh.
Isn't that fun?
Mm.
I don't have to manage another adult's emotions, just my own. Okay, so that's the beginning of boundaries. So how do you feel now? You feel like you're a little more present, getting things a little more accurately?
Yes.
Okay. I'll just leave you with one more question. You can get a lot more out of Read Life out of the book tools, but I want to go back to the question I asked you that you just didn't kind of slid around is, do you want to learn?
Do I want to what?
Learn boundaries so you can have relationships.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now,
Just
one
to
more
watch how they
question.
look. Hmm.
One more question. You had your original, I'll answer your original question now. What's the difference between wishful thinking or ego versus true guidance? Real simply put, true guidance is a feeling and not a lot of talking, and ego has a lot to say. So that could make it pretty simple. There's a lot of words going on. It's not my guidance. I'm not reading the situation. My ego's controlling it. Okay. You're very helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You have a good
Yay.
day.
Thank you. It's
Appreciate it.
so helpful to everybody. You are just great.
Thank
Okay, let's hop off and let's work. Before we go to someone else, I want to organize this for you because I just was helping her read herself accurately, read her relationship accurately. It starts with get in the body. So many of us are popping around in our heads, and I call that a bad neighborhood. You're not going to get any accurate energy information up there. Ah. And then you start asking yourself, am I comfortable in my own skin? Is there something I need to look at for me? You have to be very organized. I have a whole bunch of these tools in the book about how to get back. And then you keep checking here and you listen to the tone. And if it's too noisy, that's not accurate reading. That's your ego. So these are just some tools and techniques. It's a skill, but you know what? You catch on. It starts to tumble together. Did you see her light up like a Christmas tree when all of a sudden she came back and started reading it? She turned 5 shades of bright light. That's another way you know it's your inner guidance and your outer guidance working together. They working together, you light up. Everything in your aura and your energy, it all is obvious. You just feel present and clear. Okay, who are we going to put up next? Let's do this again. Let's do this again. Who are we going to come next? I'll let the people put someone on my screen. Who are we going to have? Sandy? Is that who's coming on?
Yes. Hi,
Hi,
how are you?
Sandy. See, you intended this, right?
Yes.
Didn't you? Were
Yes, I
you like,
did. Thank
it's going to
you.
be me?
I did.
I can see, I felt that. I
Yeah.
had a whole bunch here on the side, but it was going to be you. So can you see how one of the ways in which you use your inner senses and your
Mm-hmm.
outer senses is focus?
Mm-hmm.
Does that work for you very much in life?
Focusing or using
Yeah,
my inner
getting
senses.
things, once you focus, it works.
Yeah, I feel like I am dealing with a lot of fear now.
In the
Um,
moment, but generally, let's
Generally,
stand
yes.
back a minute and let's just here, I'm going to put this chat over so I can see you clearly. Stand back and take a bigger view and take that breath I taught you to take.
Mm-hmm.
Breathing in, you know, that breath is biologically one of the most fear releasing things you can do. Can you feel
Mm-hmm.
that?
Yeah.
And especially if you really let it out.
Mm-hmm.
So try
Ah.
a little bit more because you're only opening the door this much. Ah,
Ah.
you're opening this and this. Can you feel
Yeah,
this?
I do.
See, this is what we need to
Ah.
activate the inner senses. With this turns the light on. When you're like, you just turn the dimmer on a little bit. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
you brighten up, you turn the
Mm-hmm.
senses turn on.
Right.
So I just want you to feel that. And everybody watch, you can see as we're looking at
Ah.
Candy, your energy changes.
Mm-hmm.
You feel it? I can.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what would you like to explore and learn to read accurately?
I just want to get out of my own way, I guess, and get out of fear. Like I think I'm used to fear leading me. I was in a
Okay.
cult for 6 years and I got out 4 years ago. So it's been
Okay,
a
so
healing
that's your focus
process.
I got.
Yeah.
Good job.
Hmm.
Okay, so first, let's read what is so. One of the readings in Reading Life Accurately is what is so. Well, what is so is that it took a lot of focus for me to liberate myself. I was
Hmm.
controlled. I was in a scenario where I had my personal sovereignty was taken. I grabbed it back. So what is so
Hmm.
is I actually am pretty strong.
Hmm.
If you're going to read yourself accurately, you're a lot stronger than what your brain is telling you in the moment.
Hmm.
You got out of a cult.
Hmm.
You already showed your focus. It's like, this is not for me. I'm
Hmm.
out. So let's just fast forward. It's sort of like, don't tell me what to do. Okay, you did it. And then now you're on the other side going, I don't know what to do.
Hmm.
Right?
Yes.
That's what happened. You jumped out of don't tell me
Yeah.
what to do. And now you are. So in reading yourself accurately, do you think it's fair to say I'm a beginner in
Yes.
self-direction?
That's how I feel. Yes.
But I want you to think about this. I'll go back to the same question I asked before. You worked hard for this.
Hmm.
Are you happy that this is where you are? Are you okay with being a beginner?
Yes.
Now, how does your fear feel when you acknowledge that I'm a beginner, but I'm okay with it?
Mm,
What happened?
I don't know. It's like I split.
Okay, you're split. You've had a whole life where you've been told what to do.
Hmm.
So you not knowing what to do is reasonable, but you cannot bypass the learning curve.
Hmm.
Okay. Now you have been in a cult or an indoctrinated situation that said you don't know what to do for yourself.
Hmm.
And I think the one thing that when we're learning to read life accurately, we got to get to the real problem.
Right.
The real problem is that I've been given this information that I don't know. I am incapable of managing my own life.
Hmm.
That's what you were basically told, or it was implied. Is that,
Right.
but is
Yeah.
that true?
It's not true.
No. So this is reading life accurately. It's like, well, wait a
Mm.
minute, that tape recorder is conflicting with what is actually so. So here's what we're going
Mhm.
to do with you. Give me 3 examples where you actually are quite capable of making decisions for yourself, at least right now.
Mhm.
Give me
I'd
three
say
examples where you've made decisions in your post cult right now.
mhm, choosing
One,
where I'm going to live
where
is
do you
one.
what you choose where you live? Excellent.
Yes,
Is it working out for you?
it is.
Okay.
That's something that was managed for me before being in a cold. And so,
A- And here you've chosen something quite
mhm,
appropriate.
mhm,
So this, by the way, when we read life, we use all our senses. We use every part of our brain. We use everything we have. That is acknowledging what is so. What's another thing?
choosing how I live, how I
How do
show
you
up.
live? Yeah, are you going up in smoke? Are you melting down? Are you just
No,
flailing out of
no.
control?
I feel empowered to it.
Exactly. All of a sudden, the information and the reflection I have is, I can do this.
Hmm.
If anything, far better than it was being done for me,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
One more.
And choosing what I want to do with life, how I want to live with life,
So you've made a
like
choice.
purpose. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you've got the major anchors of life. You know what I think is going on with you? This is
Mm-hmm.
very much the story of the guy who all of a sudden had his eyesight returned.
Hmm.
Did
Hmm.
that resonate with you at
Yes,
all?
it did.
Yeah, your brain has to be re-educated
Right.
because your brain is like a recorder,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to change the recording. And it's the new anchor is, I know I got this.
Right.
Now I'm going to ask you a question that pulls on your inner senses.
Okay.
Are you really afraid?
No.
There you go. Look at the smile. Look at the
Right.
light. This is what's accurate. That's a
Right.
habit.
Hmm.
That is just a default habit that you were
Right.
indoctrinated to stay in. And here you're going, well, wait a minute, I'm asking a question that's not even. So
Right.
here's another more fun question.
Goodness
The
gracious.
most creative, empowered thing I can commit to now and do next is,
It's just listening to my gut every day, showing up and saying yes to what I feel called,
and
step
you've
by
already
step.
proven you're pretty capable of doing that.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
what you have to do, and I talk about this in Read Life, you need a new identity.
Hmm.
Your identity is I was this oppressed in the cult, couldn't make decisions to, no, I'm Superwoman.
Yeah,
So that's what I would say for you is the accurate read. How does that feel?
that feels really good.
But we can
Thank you.
see it. You're smiling. This is real. This is you doing the real thing. So you
Mhm.
see how I very organized. When you're
Right.
like, you get organized. I used your outer
Mhm.
senses and your inner senses. When they come together, ching, comes the
Mhm.
light. How do you
Right.
feel?
Beautiful.
Well,
Thank
you
you.
are beautiful. You're a
Thank
very
you.
good teacher for us.
Thank you so much.
Be peaceful. You've got
Hmm.
this. Yeah,
Thank
see you
you.
laughing. That's your spirit. That's fabulous. Excellent. And
Thank you
everybody
so much.
can visually see it. Thank
Thank
you. Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank
More
you.
tools if you want to strengthen this. Read life in the book, okay? Let's pick someone else. But before I jump ahead, put in the chat what you learned from that. Because I'm not wooing, I am being really present, really grounded, really observant, checking energy, dialing it in, and you can do this. But it means you got to get clear on the question. Check the question. Is that resonating? Is this what I really want to know? Am I present? Am I going to lean into this? Am I going to start? And by the way, in both cases, I make you speak. When you say when you speak, you can tell where that's coming from. It's a very important energetic check. Okay. I want to look at some of these. I want to look at what you're learning here. What'd you learn on that last little episode here? Yes. Change the brain pattern. That's a big one I talk about. Change your identity. That's another thing I bring out and Read Life Accurately. And is it resonating? You have your own inner truth serum test. Does this bring a resonance? And that these are skills we possess naturally. And it's like knowing yourself. Kathy's saying to that, read yourself first. That's the first section of the actual skills. We read first ourselves, then other people, then the place, then the purpose, then the flow. Okay, and there's a way. So I just want to make sure you're not missing. And it's, when I have you write this, it's for you. Because when you write it, there's a bit of ownership there. It's like, okay, I'm learning this. I'm taking ownership of this. So before I go to another person, I'm going to give you a bit of a summary again on how to read life accurately. You have to want to. It starts there. And B, you have to accept that this isn't bizarre. I'm designed this way. What's bizarre is we have these inner senses that we've been told to ignore. So when they turn on, our brain goes, what's going on? But they're working perfectly well. We have to change our perception. Everybody take a breath right now. Let out a big sigh. Ah, keep your eyes open and smile. And just feel the curtains of your heart open up. Feel your perception light up. Feel your presence and your power. Just, ah. Talk about. I give these tools being kind of like you're reorganizing your information to let your senses work for you. Okay. Do you want to know? That's the big one. I find the biggest thing that I have found, and I've been doing readings for over 50 years. The biggest block to not being able to read your life accurately is you don't want to know. You want some alternate reality that says, I'm not responsible and I don't want to disappoint. And God, that sounds like a lot of work to be that present. And I just want to believe what I want to believe. Okay. I have watched that. Like, are you kidding? And how's that working out for you? The more you know, the more accurate awareness you have, the more empowered you are. I just think about it, and I want you to put in the chat now. When did you read a situation or you read yourself or you read a circle? When did you do that? Because we all do. And it worked out. Let's start giving ourselves some recognition. The ego tends to help us forget where we actually read things pretty well. We are actually clocking the energy just very clearly. I had a client say to me the other day that she was driving along and all of a sudden she just had to pull over and she just felt something was so subtly off, but subtly, not blanc blanc. And she said she pulled over, she was pulled off the highway, got off the ramp and saw a big nail in her tire. And she was heading down the road. And she said, had I continued, it could have been a blowout. It could have been a catastrophe. I didn't feel the car being wonky, but I felt something subtle. And I said yes to it instead of fight it. Because what my experience with you is that people are reading things all the time. They're just ignoring it or fighting it or arguing or dismissing or asking someone else, can I feel that? And they say, no, you're crazy. So you say, okay, I'm not going to feel what I'm feeling. Breathe. When did it work out? Did you feel if someone was lying to you or if someone was really good for you? Or did you get the feeling I should do this? Or let's go to that restaurant or let's try this or let's go there. That's a good time to buy tickets for a vacation. It's everywhere. So I want you to start, our inner senses have a bad rap. The biggest bad rap is, oh, this is scary. I got to stay away. It's like, are you kidding? That's the treasure. That's where the motherlode treasure is. That's where the power is. Don't say this is scary. This is exciting. Not scary. Not scary. So I really like, even Sandy, she laughed, called, and she picked the right path, the right place, the right purpose. Bam, bam, bam. Good job. Nailed it. So, and that you're learning. You're like, this is wait a minute, I had some very dumb information. This is working. I'm driving and someone says move to the next lane. And then the next thing I know, the car in front of me loses energy. Well, you know what you were doing? You were reading that energy. You were reading the situation accurately. That energy wasn't grounded. Your conscious mind's a bit slow, but your body got it. Now think of how fabulous that is. Fabulous. So you have to realize if there's too many words, that's your ego interrupting. What you're going to get when you're reading energy is move, over, stop, no go, something's off. You start getting a whole conversation, not just your ego trying to drive the bus of your life. That'll drive you right into the wall. So you want to breathe, slow down, be present. Ah, feel, not emotion, energy. And it comes, and it's not going to knock you over. It's going to be subtle. Move. One of the greatest reasons why you want to read Life Accurate is it keeps you safe, just like that woman getting out of the way, or the nail in the car, or the guy right up upon that woman. It's like, no, shh, my space. So that's why you create the space. I talk about how to create the space so that when something enters your field, you can pick it up. Okay. So this is important. These things you're acknowledging are saying my inner senses have been working. My brain didn't get the memo, but my inner senses are working as they are designed to work. Okay, let's do it again. Let me put this little webinar over here for me. Who do we have? What's your name? Dr. Smita. Hello.
Hi, so nice. I feel so lucky to be with you.
You chose it. Your energy chose it. This is great. Just really feel like this is a day I wanted something good.
Yeah,
Today I was available for something good.
exactly.
Yay. So what would you like to read more accurately?
Just my interpretation of being scared to feel too good.
Okay, so interesting. So just before I even entered the field, just simply saying what you said, given what we've been doing, where are you going off the rails?
So I mean, the end of last year, I felt so fulfilled and happy and really good. And then I like popped out and got really scared and ended up having a really challenging year. And so there's
Okay,
not a
so
story.
what I'm seeing with you is actually you're pretty perceptive, and I think those inner senses are on a lot more than you might even acknowledge. So would you say that's true?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I can see just in your energetic field that you're not wandering around in the dark. Maybe you got the lights on somewhat dimmed, but they're on, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So what are your top 3 priorities when I asked you? We're going to read yourself first because this is first of all, identify the problem. Is it me? Is it a person? Is it another? Is it a situation? This is a you problem.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a you. I don't even like to call it a problem. This is a you invitation.
Yeah.
Okay. So
So
what are
for
your
me,
top 3 priorities? And don't go to your eyes.
yeah, joy, like
Okay.
with others in
Now, is
community.
that a priority and a commitment, or is that a wishful thinking?
Mm.
They're different. Are you committed to joy, or do you admire joy? Do you yearn for it? But that's different than I'm committed to this.
I feel like I have been very committed to allowing and creating joy and
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I'm just checking.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
challenging.
Yeah.
Check, don't challenge. Check.
Yeah.
Second,
playing full out and helping
Okay.
others do that as well.
Okay. So check. Have I been?
Yes.
I don't believe you. That was not a believable. I'm sure everyone's going, well, that's really reassuring.
The hesitancy is that, yes, it felt like that until the end of last year. And then because this year, I felt like I took steps backward.
Okay. And what's your third commitment?
Is allowing to really feel love, like letting the love in, really
Okay.
letting.
So I'm going to have you read it a bit. I'm going to ask you some questions and then I'm going to help you read this. Okay. Um, have you been committed to growing your consciousness
Yes.
for a long time?
Yes.
Okay. And what is your ambition? What is your big intention with this?
I want,
Just own the one you have.
yeah. My intention is to just have a really joyful, fulfilling life for myself and my family.
Okay. Well, does your family, where you come from, the people around you, are they very joyful?
Yeah, my husband and my son are.
But what about your sphere beyond that?
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of in my lineage. And so this year
Right.
there was a lot of ancestral stuff that came
Yeah,
up.
so you're
Yeah.
actually reading this better than you realize. You reached a point where it collided with your ancestral and your lineage and your family belonging. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Has that ever crossed your mind?
Big time. And
Right.
this
So you're not
year,
confused.
yeah.
I was really happy until I realized if I keep staying happy, I may not be able to find a connection to my family.
Yeah.
Does that feel like maybe that was the real read? So you're reading yourself, you're reading other people, and you're reading the situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's where you get creative. It's not all or nothing. That's where you go to the brain. It's either me joyful and I lose my family, or I lose my joy to stay connected to my family.
Yeah.
That's where I'm stuck, right? But when you read life accurately, that's an ego perspective,
Okay.
all or nothing. But let's come up. There's one of the things that I talk about. It's tools in this book and other tools. There's more than those two solutions.
Yeah.
And so there's the spirit again. You're smiling. So let's just explore a few solutions. Just shoot them out there. They don't have to be right or wrong. We're just going to start dabbling. So solution one, just start dabbling. How can I be joyful with Eeyore as my family? Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. I'm Winnie and they're Eeyore. Okay.
Um, lead by inspiration, like just be
Yeah.
amazing, let that be contagious.
And what else?
Sometimes do things with them, sometimes not. Like sometimes,
Okay. Excellent. And what else?
um, I can't think of a third one.
You can, but this is new. Part of
Yeah.
reading Life Accurately is it opens up to creative solution. It's one of the benefits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when we're in our left brain, we get trapped in the corner, but all of a sudden we're in our spirit. And we see all these avenues, all these avenues,
Have more trust that they'll find their way on their own.
right? That they're on their own path and they're going to grow and maybe they're not so miserably miserable.
Yeah.
Maybe they're comfortably miserable. See, there's the spirit again. So how do you feel?
I feel affirmed, like very affirmed. Yeah.
And do you feel like there's room for joy again and that nothing that you didn't lose it, you just came to a fork in the road where you thought it was one or the other.
Yeah. I do. I feel like I'm ready for opening again. I feel my heart opening
You
again.
changed.
Yeah.
You changed. That block and that cloud over you isn't there anymore. Do you feel that shift?
Yeah. Yeah, I
And now,
do.
do you see that you can look at them a bit differently too? Now you can read them a bit differently. Now that
Yeah.
they're not the problem.
Yeah. I actually also look at what unfolded this year as like this amazing creative solution that did unfold, which is we actually came together and evolved our lineage together, like my cousin sisters, and
So
that was
think about,
beautiful.
I broke a pattern and now I'm getting used to it. Shocked me.
Yeah,
We are shocked that we broke a lineage pattern. So the
yeah,
brain is trying to adjust.
yeah, yeah,
See how exciting this is?
yeah. And
And
so I get that allows me, I just want to say, I feel called to like just let go of I wasted a year because that's a little bit of a story I'm
absolutely,
holding
that's
on.
not accurate. Like I said, we feel things, but we don't accurately understand them. Now you're accurately understanding. I used a year to adjust
Yeah,
to something that's been probably 5,000 years the way it was.
yeah,
That's big.
yeah,
That's like worth crying for.
yeah.
Fabulous.
There's been a lot of crying.
Good.
Yeah,
Crying and tears are healing.
yeah, yeah,
That's good. So I love you. I love because you broke a lineage gives us all hope.
yeah.
So wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful. And the thing that I want everybody who's watching, you see it visually. You see it. Do you feel it? You're not
Yeah,
in that cloud of I don't know what happened anymore.
yeah, yeah.
You read the situation, you read life accurately. You know what else you read? Your purpose. I
Mm,
talk about that in the book. I teach you in the book to read yourself, read your people. You did that. You did yourself, you did your people, you did your purpose, joy, and you did life, our whole family.
mm,
And see how gracefully that just unfolded.
yeah.
Really nice.
Can I ask you for like a read on one other quick situation kind of related to this? I got into a car accident this summer and totaled my car, and it brought up my deepest wound. And it was right before I was about to have a very joyful experience of having a home and dog sitting, which would have brought me.
Yeah, it's just getting adjusted to joy.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you had a car crash to just put a pause on the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, I do bring it up in the book. How good can you stand it? Because
Yeah.
you're changing patterns. So your
Right.
brain was like, just like, I can't know this. You went into, I can't have this. But then you did. You got past it.
Yeah. Okay.
We do that to ourselves because they're adjustments. So
Yeah.
what you just said was that was just a dramatic because of your culture and
Yeah.
beautiful, dramatic pause.
Yeah. Well, I come from the lineage of Bollywood, so we have to be dramatic.
I'm sad. No, I love it. I'm Romanian. I have an equally dramatic. Nothing's fun unless it's big. So
Yeah.
your accident was part of Bollywood. You know, your Bollywood. I mean, every Bollywood movie has the moment, and then they all go into dance.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you feel now you understand it all?
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Enjoy. Take joy in. That's what the word enjoy means. Take the joy in that
Yes.
you're
Yes.
putting out. It's so good.
Thank you. I
Thank
just want
you.
8 year memories are coming up in my Facebook of 8 years ago. I was in your home for a salon, and I just remember feeling so much peace in your presence. So I like feel so happy to be able to have this.
I love seeing you again. And I recognize you and I'm so happy now. You just get organized, get the tools for Read Life and just let yourself be all this
Mm,
joy and wisdom.
thank you.
Okay, all my love. Now, again, everybody, this was so excellent. This was so excellent to be able to observe how you don't just, once you start reading life, it doesn't stop at one thing, but we get organized. First, it's me, then it's my surroundings, then it's the people, and then it's the place, and then it's the purpose, and then it's the flow. This is how it works. It's natural, but what I want you to observe is is how you change. You can see it visibly. You can feel it and how organized this is. This isn't random, ungrounded, hope I'm shooting fish in a bowl. This is turning on your outer senses, turning on your inner senses, getting clear about what's important, having them work together, stop fighting, and just be present. I mean, this is why I had to write the book, because it's a manual. It's a how to be empowered, how to be informed, how to be clear, how to be grounded, how to be not caught in confusion and story and disempowered or be afraid, how to be creative, how to gather information and then create with it something beautiful. So we're running out of time, but we can do one more quick. We'll take one, and we'll do quick. Hi there. You're muted.
I'm unmuted. There we go. Hi,
There
Sonia.
you go.
Thank
What's
you
your
so much.
name?
Tracy Richardson.
Take a breath, Tracy. Ah, it's empowering is when you take that breath with your eyes open.
Oh,
It makes a difference. It's natural, close your eyes. But when you take it with the eyes open, that pulls your presence. So what is the question you'd like to read accurately?
well, I've had a lot of trauma over the last many years, and I've also have been having to focus on other people quite a bit. My father is elderly and needing a lot of help, my clients, my children, my partner, and it's affecting my health and also my passion project of writing metaphysical novels for children. And I'm trying to pull the focus back on myself while still helping those that do need my help. So I'm trying to find a balance there somehow.
You're pretty aware. I think what we need to revisit is your core values and the idea of your identity.
Yeah.
This is something I talk about in the book when you read yourself. You have this identity. So describe the identity that's dragging you down.
This caregiver.
Right. And can you see where that identity is not, does that match who you really are?
I am a naturally helpful person, and in
Which
my
is different.
and in my profession, I'm a financial advisor, so I'm helping people all the time.
But you're not a caregiver.
No.
See, read it accurately.
Yeah.
So let's find a different word that more accurately describes you. Let's find what is more accurate about who my spirit is.
Right. I guess I was going to say enabler, but that's not a good word.
No, your caregiver is a drag down with that. But that's not who you are.
Yeah.
At
I think
all.
I'm the
You
person
are
that
quite right.
I'm a kind of a resource for people to help
Exactly.
things. Yeah.
You are someone who empowers people
Okay.
in several ways. Does that resonate?
Very much so.
And if I say, okay, you're a caregiver versus you are a resource of empowerment, which feels accurate for you?
Yeah.
The other thing I would say, and everybody watching, there may have been a moment in the trajectory of your life where caregiver was where you hung out for a while because you care, but you've evolved. Learning that carrying is not the same as the care that comes from empowering. So you've got two channels going here. And if you can pull them all into who you really are, then how would you respond differently with all these responsibilities?
I would expect the people that I am helping supporting, yes, good word, supporting, to take on some of the responsibility themselves.
And I'm going to read the situation. Now, this is where we read others accurately as well. Whether they're willing to or not is not your responsibility. You can tell them that is their responsibility. It's not yours.
Right.
Does that give you any energy and space right now?
Yes. And I think there's a lot of guilt with.
Well, that's the old identity.
Yeah. With not doing something, and I feel bad because there's only so much that I can physically and emotionally do.
I would see, here's the thing. Does that resonate with you as a truthful and empowering statement of accurate reading of energy? It's a story, it's a habit, but is it something that feels energetically accurate?
No.
No. Can you
No.
see, is it really accurate that as a soul, you're just leaving these people because you're selfish and you're not nice and
Right.
you should be sacrificing yourself to take on all what these adults are supposed, don't want to. Do you see how it's an energetic resonant disconnect?
Oh yeah, and what you had said with the previous woman about Eeyore people around her, that's what we call my dad.
Well, you know what? One thing I would advise is, and I do, or what is so reading and read life accurately is, you're not going to change Eeyore. You can just say, Eeyore, I love you, but I don't love the braying. So I love you and I gotta go.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving you. I'm just stepping out of the noise.
Yeah.
So we'll just settle this with change your identity.
Okay.
Let's leave the carrying caregiver, which is not you inaccurate at all, and step into the empowering. Because that's not just, it's not just good for you, it's what you actually allow others to step into.
Yes.
And I think you didn't pay back to writing pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm feeling very adrift with that. I have not been focusing on that for a long time, and it's
I'm
so
sure
important
that
to me. Yeah.
you have to change your identity and quit. And this is in the book and read. I would really focus on the tools of read yourself and stop reading other people so much because you're reading through a filter and you're not getting accurate information.
Right. And that's what I do all day long with my clients. I'm reading
Well,
them.
in the finance world, I'm sure you're much more accurate.
Yeah.
So the filter of the family role, you got to get rid of that.
Yeah.
You'll get some good tools in the book.
I ordered it on Audible already.
And or own. I'm an empowering guide.
Yes. I
I'm
like
not
that.
the fireman for the fire.
I love that.
Okay. All right, guys, we
Thank
have
you.
come to a beautiful conclusion. Thank you for being another teacher. Thank you for showing up and you showing us, because every one of you have been examples, have been great, but you read yourself more accurately. This has been so good, everybody. I'm really grateful you've shown up. I do encourage you, if you want to really hone these skills and get into the flow that fast, you can do it. You're hardwired for this. Just you can get the book. If you're not a reader, get Audible. It's me teaching. But mostly make the choice. Do I want to know? Because when you make that choice and you turn those senses on and you decide, the book trains your brain. The tools turn on the senses and the experiences flow and fun. So that was really great. Thank you all for showing up with me tonight. I really, really enjoyed being with you. The more of us who read life accurately, the more and really get a clear picture, the more loving, more bright, more brilliant, more grounded we are, and we will affect others. And this is how our world is going to get better, by starting with your own world. So thank you, guys. I love you. I'll show it up one more time. I'm sure you've heard it 1,000 times, but those are your toolkit. That's what'll help you. I give you what I have, but you can take it from here. You saw how fast people get on board. You've got this. All my love, guys. It's been a real pleasure. I'm going to say goodbye for everyone now. Thank you. All my love.